Ready. Chapter 49. Together. Keon and Aino stood looking out the window. They'd been given a room in Ayla's castle. The long-term plan was for all of the officers to join on the one roof, to finally become one army. The soldiers all lived in the buildings around the castle. The more cadets taken in, the more buildings were needed. It was almost like a small town was being created, all centered around the castle. Ayla walked by the room as she noted the door was open. She peeked in. It was time to grab the bull by the horn. She cleared her throat to announce her presence. Keon and Aino turned towards her. "Hello?" She made a little awkward wave with her hand. "I'm only going to speak for myself now, but I know that Niila feels the same way. However, I am the one who needs to ask for forgiveness from you, Keon. It was my order, and so the fault lies with me. I must have been blinded by my own goals. What I did was not logical. I was the one who tried to twist our Creator's mind, not you. You are innocent in all of this. You are someone we should all strive to be, not tear down. I should be thankful our Creator stopped us. You are needed in this world, Keon. I am deeply sorry for what I did to you. I should have never given that order, plain and simple." Keon leaned his head to the side. He was relieved. All he wanted right now was to be by Aino's side. If the twins still had distrust towards him, that would have made everything hard. He had walked around with so much fear and anxiety over these past weeks because of Lia. The last thing he needed was another person gunning for him, now that she had finally let go. "Apology accepted," he answered Ayla. "You're a good person," Ayla said back to him. "Yes, he is," Aino cut in. The general shifted her attention to her creator. "I'm going to make one thing very clear for you, Ayla. If any of you ever touch Keon again, that includes Lia and everyone that is under the command of you and Niila, I will show you just how ruthless I can be. I've stepped over the corpses of the guilty to save the innocent before, and I would do it in a heartbeat again for him. Keon makes me a better person, but the person I was in the old world will always be here. I'm not striving to be the same person. I want to be better. However, that person is me. I can never fully eliminate who I was. Don't make me become her again." It was midday and the sun was shining brightly for a change. Ayla looked up. She missed the rain. As she was waiting, she decided to strike up a conversation with one of her officers. "Did you get to meet your family on the battlefield?" Ayla asked Iosa. The brigadier general shook her head. "No, I couldn't see them anywhere." "Well, if we manage to pull this deal off, you might get to meet them again." Ayla nudged her in the side. "If they're still alive, that is," Iosa said and sighed. Aino and Keon walked up to them. "Niila is here now. Are you ready, Ayla?" The general nodded at them as they took their departure. The four of them were headed to Ulfstad to negotiate a peace treaty with the new ruler. When Ulf had died, his oldest son had taken over and seemed far more willing to reach a compromise than his father ever was. As they were walking, Keon turned to the twins. "There has been one thing I've wondered ever since I saw the cloaks of Juha and Atle. Why are your armies so similar? In everything from how the organization is built up, down to the stars on your back," he asked them. Ayla smiled at him. "I modeled my army after Niila's. His came first after all. It was in preparation for the day we would merge as one. It's always been my goal. Back then, I didn't think it would take this long though. The fact that I chose black stars is because to me it signaled morning. Yellow has always been my favorite color anyway. I like the black stars though. I think we should keep them as they are for your field army. Maybe when we are one, we could combine the two colored stars into one. For Aino's cloak," Niila said to his sister. "I like that idea," she said and nodded approvingly. After some days of walking and setting up camps in between, the four of them had finally reached Ulfstad. Nila grinned menacingly as he walked by the armed guards at Drottningholm Castle. They all looked terrified at the sight of him. "Stop doing that! We're here to make friends, not enemies," Ella said to her brother as she waved to the guards with a smile on her face. The guards, however, all looked at her like they had just seen a ghost. "These people aren't very welcoming," she muttered. "We are in the normal world now. The two of you are giants here. It's not strange that they're scared of you," Aino commented. Aino and Keon sat at the end of a table. Nila and Ayla were standing behind them. The chairs were too small for them. Nila had tried to sit down on one of them, but it had buckled right away under his weight. Now he stood leaning on the wall, muttering about weak chairs instead. On the opposite side of the table sat the late Ulf's two eldest sons, Erik, the firstborn who had taken over the crown after his father, and Johan, the second in line to the throne. Several of the castle guards were standing behind them. "So you want peace, but what more do you want?" Erik asked Aino. "We want Scania," she replied. "Of course. You want land as well. Scania used to belong to Sweden." "I know, but this is the new world, not the old," Aino answered him. "If I let you have Scania, you let us have the rest of Sweden?" he asked her. She nodded at him. As the treaty was signed, Aino looked up at Erik. "Rebuild her again." "Who?" he asked her. "Svea," she answered him. He smiled at her. "Our kingdom will rise again. Do you see a future where Scania and Sweden could join forces again?" "Do you have any plans for ruling a country living in peace?" she asked him back. "The blood armies weren't the only ones my father were gunning for. I need to lead the wolf army to the east soon, because a war there is inevitable. It's gone too far. The wolf navy is dealing with the growing tensions as we speak," he answered her. "Well, do let me know if that day ever comes. Also, I have to ask, why the child soldiers?" She looked at him. "The child soldiers were my father's idea. It's never been something I was on board with. We're putting them back in school where they belong," he answered her. She smiled at him approvingly. As they stood up, ready to take their departure, the brothers came up to shake their hands. "Thank you. But now I have to go water the squirrel trees," Erik said with a smile before he marched out of the room, followed by his guards. Johan cleared his throat. "You'll have to excuse my brother, but he's not all there mentally. He thinks squirrels grow on tree branches." He gave them a strange smile. "So I guess you have a lot of squirrels around here?" Aino asked carefully. "No, we don't. He's the only one who sees them," Johan said before he quickly excused himself and set off running after his brother, together with the remaining guards. The rest of them stared flabbergasted at each other. "That man is not going to last long on the throne, is he?" Keon said as he turned to Aino. "No, I don't think he will," she answered him. Aino stood in front of all of her officers and soldiers. The ceremony had just been held. She was officially their field marshal now. She took a deep breath and raised her voice for all of them to hear. "Our 2 officer academies and 2 armies are now one. We will all unite under the same flag. We are the Blood Army. We are Scanians. The South belongs to us. Stand up, because we will never bow to anyone ever again." Aino looked upon the thousands standing in front of her. They had chosen her to lead them, but deep down all she wished for was to heal, for all the pain to go away, for herself and for them all. No more suffering, no more war. Her eyes landed on Joar. He had always been loyal to her, even when she had tried to push him away. He had always believed in her, even when she didn't herself. She smiled at him as he smiled back at her. "We will never smear the blood of our enemies on our cloaks again. We will rebuild this world, together, for peace." You added in that last part just to get them to wash their cloaks, didn't you? Keon asked Aino as he looked out through the castle window. The stench of death is nothing that should be paraded in peacetime. There's been enough human lives spilled already, Aino answered. Well, it worked. They're all outside, coloring the water red. He turned his head towards her and smiled. Always something, she said and smiled back at him. Have you always disliked it when people bow to you? Keon asked her. I wouldn't say so, but the way they do it. I don't like the feeling when someone puts you above themselves. I'm not a person who should be admired, she answered him. When you told Ayla that you have stepped over the corpses of the guilty to save the innocent, what were you referring to? When I was younger, back in the old world, I did things. She went silent. Keon reached over to her and put his hand on her cheek. Almost 200 years of memories. I'm sure not all of them are easy to bear. A knock was heard on the door. Both of them turned around as a woman walked into the room. There was something familiar about the stranger's look, but neither of them could pinpoint it. I'm sorry for bothering you both, but I need to ask you something, Aino. She seemed rather shy and nervous as she looked at her creator. And who might you be? Aino asked her. I am Tua, soldier of Ayla's blood. I mean the Blood Army, she corrected herself. Aino looked up at Tua. She was tall, but nowhere close to her brother. Her face had something unintentionally harsh about it, standing in stark contrast to what seemed to be a rather timid nature. Her eyebrows were thick, her eyes narrow, and she had slightly wavy hair that reached halfway down her neck. So that's why you looked so familiar. You're Tuva's sister, Aino responded. Tuva nodded. Yes, I am. What did you want to ask me about? Aino asked her. Tuva gathered her courage. Her creator was so small, yet so powerful. If anyone could help her, it was Aino. What you did on the battlefield, when you healed all those people, could you do it to an old wound as well? A wound from 17 years ago? I can't heal your mind, but I can heal your body, Aino answered her. Then please heal me. Heal me and make me the way I was 17 years ago, before it took it all away from me.